Sometimes the best things to do when you're going through with a plan is to enact it in phases. Well, with the 2025 NFL Draft now officially being concluded, I believe the Lions are getting set to enact Phase 2. We're going to talk about it, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. It doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10, 5, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And with that being said, let's dive on in. So, folks, welcome everybody to, the first day of May. I'm so glad that we're obviously now moving further and further into the year. Winter is now officially done for most people, so now we can actually look forward to having spring around. But obviously, as we're moving further into the year, that also means that we're moving further into the football season. The offseason is now continuing to move along. The draft is now done, which means soon we'll be talking about, OTAs. We'll be talking about training camp. We'll be talking about summer camp and all that other stuff. So that is all around the corner. Now, when it comes to this offseason, much of the offseason, the Lions have been pretty much quiet in regards to certain roster decisions. And when it comes to being quiet in regards to all this, the lack of movement has, I would say, angered quite a lot of Lions fans greatly. And quite a few of them have voiced very loudly, very boisterously their displeasure at it. And now everyone's kind of wondering, okay, what's your next step? What's the next phase of this entire plan? Because now that the Lions have done their drafting, and a lot of people are now starting to see that the Lions have added a rich class of talent, which, while some might disagree on the level of that talent or how good the talent might actually be, no one, however, is going to be able to argue or state that the Lions drafted anything but players that they wanted. And that means more to me, and it means more to a lot of people than what potentially negative fans' opinions might be, or what supposed experts might have in terms of their inflated viewpoints in regards to the draft and in regards to the Lions' decision-making process. Now, as I said, the draft is done. And fans are now wondering, what is the Lions' next step? What are they going to do next? And obviously, I'm going to tell you this. What I believe the Lions are going to do is they're going to continue upon the work that they have done over the last 4, now going into 5 years. And obviously, the work that they've been doing is not simply just a matter of, hey, you know what, we're just trying to get better. What they're trying to do and what ultimately their goal has been is to get to and win a Super Bowl and then to obviously win Super Bowls. Now, a plan like this, a goal like this is not one that is simply done with a matter of one move or even a couple of moves. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of strategizing. Now, getting to that goal, what exactly are the Lions going to do next? What is their next set of moves that I believe they're going to enact? Well, I'm going to say this. When it comes to the moves we're about to talk to, I believe that some might disagree with at least one move that I have, but I believe largely most Lions fans will look at what I'm talking about here and they will have a very warm welcoming committee towards it. I believe there are 3 moves. The first move is to sign or bring back Zadarius Smith. And I'm going to say this right now. This, to me, is a no-brainer move, and I know for a lot of fans, this is also a no-brainer move. But even when it comes to no-brainer decisions, it must be talked about. It has to be analyzed for the individual merits that particular argument might have. So, yeah, Lions fans, they want to see Zadarius Smith back. They want to see him back in the Honolulu blue and silver. But other than the obvious reason of just bringing him back, what else is there? Because, yeah, we want to see him back. We want an experienced edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. But what else is there to it? What else can we add to the argument? What else can we add to the conversation? Well, there's a couple of things. First thing we need to talk about is mentorship. When it comes to Zadarius Smith is still considered one of the better edge rushers in the NFL. Like, this is a guy that you can still consistently put out there on the edge. He's going to consistently be a powerful force in impacting the passer and being a disruptive pass rush for opposing offenses. And when you think about Zadarius Smith has been around long enough to where it's like, okay, this guy not only has knowledge about how to potentially, engage different offensive tackles. This is a guy that knows how to, take what a defense is supposedly doing and how it's supposed to impact an offense. There's a lot of knowledge that this guy has that can help younger players, and even great younger players. And the knowledge that I'm talking about, the mentorship that he can give, it's something that I believe that is going to really help out the Lions edge rushers, which I think a lot of Lions fans would agree with. But I particularly think it's going to help out the edge rushers of Hutchinson, Hassanin, and I would also include Davenport, because I don't see Davenport going anywhere. I believe that the Lions are committed to him. They don't have any intention of getting rid of him. And so we have to live with that reality. Regardless of whether or not some people might actually like that reality, that is the reality. But I believe intensely that the Lions front office wants to bring Zadarius back. You don't sign his cousin to a UDFA contract unless you're trying to continue to move the conversation towards, hey, how do we get you back in the building? You don't have his girlfriend, who is obviously a big Lions fan, a big Detroit fan, and I'm talking about Detroit sports fan, who's constantly saying, hey, let's get you back with the Lions. Let's get you back with the team. She's posted at least 2 different videos on her, social media accounts where she's like, hey, let's get you back there. And Zadarius has not exactly shut the whole thing down. He's actually been very open to the idea. He's actually been very warm and receptive to the idea. Hell, we've seen Zadarius on his own social media platforms continuing to wear his Lions gear. He's continued to go to Pistons games. So obviously he is very much still connected to the community. He still very much wants to be a part of that community. So for me, bringing back Zadarius for the mentorship aspect that he can bring not only is going to help out the team as a whole because of his veteran experience, but it's also going to help out the edge rushers that we have, which is ultimately something that I think a lot of Lions fans want, because they really want to see him paired on the field with Aiden Hutchinson. That was something we didn't get a chance to see last year, and the chance to see both Hutch and Zadarius on the field at the same time, I know this right now, that is a very tantalizing, that is a very exciting offer that Lions fans want to have. And the fact that the Lions have had communication with Zadarius, albeit it hasn't been in a while, but they have had communication with him about bringing him back and all the other things that I just mentioned, it tells me that there is groundwork that's been laid. It tells me that there's interest. It tells me that this is more of a possibility of a reality than not. So that's the first thing. Mentorship. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If the Lions actually do bring him back, which I believe there is a very likely chance that this is going to happen, the Lions are going to have, arguably, one of the best edge rushing rotations in the entirety of the NFL. Which then, coincidentally, brings me to the second reason why bringing back Zadarius Smith should be the first move the Lions make. I've spoken about it quite a bit this offseason, but the Lions, and I'm talking about particularly Brad Holmes, have repeatedly spoken on wanting more depth, more rotation, and they've done this particularly on the defense. But as they also showed in the NFL draft, they are doing it for virtually all positions. They've done it for the offensive line, the defensive line, outside of the edge rushing position, and they've also done it for wide receiver. They want to make sure that they have plenty of depth and rotation, and they've also done it for cornerback. I forgot about that position for a brief second. But think about it. You add Zadarius to what the Lions already have in their edge rushers, because they already have Hutch, they already have Hassanin, they already have Davenport, they have Wingo, they have Levi, they have Pascal, they have Muhammad. They have a lot of guys that they can use in a rotation to ensure, one, lesser injury potential, also, two, to ensure fresh players are constantly coming in and out on the field, so that way you constantly have a fresh pass rush to get after the quarterback. Well, by bringing Zadarius into that rotation, that group would ensure that the Lions will not only have to not worry about an edge's ability to, make sure that potential running backs and quarterbacks and wide receivers can leak outside, but it also will help the edge rushers' ability to consistently impact opposing offenses by bringing heavy and consistently good edge rushing, pass rush potential. And I know that sounds a little bit weird, but the point of the matter is that what the Lions are wanting to do is they want to make sure that they have a number of guys to ensure they have a lesser chance of injury. If there is injury, so that way they have a good depth piece that's behind that player, but at the same time, that they can continually impose their will and impact opposing offenses with a solid, firm, and also, consistently good edge rushing potential. So that is the second thing, is a deadly rotation. By bringing back Zadarius Smith, you're just going to have an absolute ridiculous amount of edge rushing talent that you can use. Now, the third thing. Everybody knows that I'm a stats guy. Everybody knows that I'm an analytics guy. That doesn't mean I don't look at anything else. But when we're in the offseason, the only thing we have to look at for the moment is stats and analytics. That's what we're going to look at until obviously the season gets started and we can start looking at film again. But when you start taking a look at the statistical and the analytical components of this whole argument, what does Zadarius Smith bring to the Lions? Well, we already know what we saw him do last year in the 7 games that he actually suited up for us. The Lions technically had him for 8 games, but the first game that he was available, they didn't suit him up. So let's take a look at this. When you take a look at Zadarius Smith last year, his 2024 pass rush grade for the entirety of the season was a 76.5. That was ranked 17th in the NFL. His pass rush win rate was at an 18.7. That was 7th best in the NFL. For all the sacks that he had with the Lions, which was a grand total of 4, that was tied 22nd. That was, again, only out of 7 games. And then when you take a look at the 2024 total QB hurries that he had, that was tied 6th. What does that tell me? What does that show me? It shows me that this is a guy that still can consistently impact the passer. He can continually and consistently also make sure that the defense is being able to make that passer uncomfortable, which means, hey, either he's going to get flustered, he's going to try and move around in the pocket, going to take his eyes downfield, which leads to sacks. And if for some reason he does decide to throw the ball with our defensive secondary, which includes DJ Reed, includes Terry and Arnold, it includes Rakestraw, it includes all these other components that we have, there's also a severe likelihood that we're also going to see also interceptions. Again, Kirby Joseph, Branch. I mean, there's so many different edge rushing, what's the word I'm looking for here? Bonuses. There's so many edge rushing positives that could come from this that it's going to impact every single part of the defense. But we're not just talking about Zadarius Smith when we're talking about stats and analytics. We also have to talk about the other 2 primary guys that we want to talk about here, which is obviously Aiden Hutchinson, and we obviously want to talk about Ahmed Hassanin. When we take a look at Hutchinson, obviously everybody in the NFL knows is that Hutchinson is probably, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. I know some people are still concerned about his injury. I know some people think he won't be the same player. Listen, folks, it's a broken bone. It's not torn ligaments. It's not torn tendons. It's bone breaking. That is something that is substantially easier to come back from and maintain the same level of play than if you were to have torn an ACL, torn an Achilles tendon, or something like that. So I'm not worried about Hutchinson's ability to return to true form in 2025. But when you take a look at what Hutch did in 2024, that should really solidify that argument. In 2024, Hutchinson had the best pass rushing grade out of any edge rusher. And this was only in 5 games, I understand that. But still, his 95 pass rushing grade from PFF was number 1. His pass rush win rate of 38.3%, number 1. The amount of sacks that he had until he got injured at 7.5, that was number 1. And even after he got injured, his total quarterback hurries for the year, which was 29, was tied 34th. Think about that. In 5 games, he had the number 1 pass rush grade. He had the number 1 pass rush win percentage. Up until he got injured, he had the number 1 amount of sacks. And even after he got injured, he still was top 40 in terms of quarterback hurries. Actually, top 35. So Hutchinson paired with Zadarius, man, that is just a really tantalizing, really exciting prospect to believe in and to really hope for. But then we also have to talk about Ahmed Hazanin. Hazanin, coming into the NFL from college, definitely is also going to add to this whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Concoction, mixture, and rotation. If you take a look at what he did in college in 2024, his pass rushing grade was at a 78.8. That was tied 44th. That is in the top 20% of all edge rushers in college that met the 50% threshold that I've talked about in the past. He also had a 2024 pass rush win rate of 16.8%. That was tied for 22nd. Again, also in the top 20%. His sacks of 9.5 was tied for 16th. And his total quarterback hurries in college was at a 33 for 2024. That was tied 8th. So think about it here. When you take a look at all 3 of these guys, Zadarius, Hutch, and Hazanin, you've got 3 guys that all can impact the passer extremely well. They know how to get after the quarterback. They know how to impact the pocket. They know how to make the quarterback uncomfortable. And they all can do it not just decently well, but very well. I'm telling you this right now. You bring back Zadarius, there's no question in my mind this would be a deadly group. Now that's move number 1. Move number 2 and move number 3. These ones are pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to spend as much time on them. But I like to believe that a lot of Lions fans would also like to see these things happen. Number 1, extend Hutchinson, which would be move number 2, and move number 3 would be extend JMO. And both of these are self-explanatory moves. Again, you want to make sure Hutchinson doesn't go anywhere. Hutchinson, as I just showed with the stats and analytics, he has more than proven himself worthy of that number 2 overall selection we used on him in the 2022 draft. He's already proven that he's one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. We know how hard it is we know how damn hard it is to get good, great edge rushers. There's no way you want Hutch walking out of the building. So you want to make sure that this guy gets locked down. You want to make sure he doesn't go anywhere. You also want to make sure that before the edge rushing market once again takes another jump up in price, you get Hutchinson locked down. So like I said, extending Hutchinson is a self-explanatory move. Now, extending JMO. Jameson Williams, I know for some people, he's still very divisive when it comes to this conversation about whether or not the Lions should extend him, whether or not the Lions should keep him. But let's understand something here. You do not have the type of season that Jameson Williams had in 2024 and not want to keep that. The guy had 58 catches but had over 1,000 yards receiving. Granted, it was 1,001, but still, that's over 1,000. And when the guy has a reception per average of almost 18 yards a catch, you definitely don't want that walking out of the building. Because we all know J-Mo's not just a guy that's a receiving threat. He's a running threat. He's a guy that is a big play threat no matter where he is on the field. And there's so many things that just his sheer presence as a weapon, as a wide receiver, it opens up for the Lions offense, which makes things more difficult for opposing defenses. And again, we also know wide receivers are expensive. You want to make sure that you get JMO extended sooner rather than later for the same reason that I talked about with Hutchinson, before the price goes up again, because the market is always constantly getting more expensive. It's always constantly getting more rich. And I believe that the sooner the Lions get both of these guys extended, Hutch and JMO, that's going to save them money in the long run. Now, I know some people are still concerned about the whole 2026 salary cap situation. understand something, folks, as I already explained. The salary cap is going to go up in 2026. I wouldn't at all be surprised if it goes up another 20-something million. And on top of that, the Lions can roll over cap from 2025 into 2026. So again, I'm more than confident that Brad Holmes has a solution. He more than is able to understand, hey, this is what I have to work with. Here's my plan. Here's how I'm going to handle all this. But again, for me, these 3 moves, I believe, are phase 2, and it's a massive phase 2 that the Lions are about to enact, because every single one of these moves would have massive, gargantuan, mammoth, colossal implications for the Lions, because it would mean that the Lions are not only ensuring that they have everything set up for the 2025 season and it's all secured and ready to rock and roll, but it would also set themselves up for the future as well. Because again, that's part of the game that Lions fans have to start now realizing. We're not just looking at a 1-year plan. We're not just looking at a 1-year move. We're looking at, okay, we not only have to deal with the here and now, but we also have to look towards the future. We have to keep an eye towards the future. How are we going to keep all this stuff together? And when you start making extensions sooner rather than later, that is what that is telling me. The Lions are trying to make sure that everything for the future is set up as well as the current moment. So for me, these are the next 3 moves that I think the Lions definitely need to do. Whether or not they do it, I can't say for certain. But I guarantee you this, move number 1 is got to be the number 1 thing that the Lions have to do. And again, I'm not saying that the Lions must do it or else. I'm just simply saying, based upon the logic, based upon the reasoning that I've presented, it makes nothing but perfect sense for the Lions to bring back Zadarius, because it literally sets up a whole bunch of other things for the defense, which, again, what has been Brad Holmes' entire strategy this offseason? Get the defense better by adding more depth, adding more rotation, and making sure that it's good to go for the 2025 season. And bringing back Zadarius, it makes nothing but perfect sense for that. But anyway, folks, I believe I've presented my argument. I believe I've presented the evidence. I've presented the logic and reason to the best of my ability. Hopefully that is good enough for you. If not, so be it. But again, I've done my best. So having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I hope you all enjoyed the content. I hope you all liked it. And, I also hope that you also do one of these 3 things. Like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, please make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that you guys never miss any more content that I push out. Also want to encourage y'all, please, to share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you possibly can. And with that, I hope everybody enjoyed the content. I hope everybody got something out of the content, and I hope that it really brought, something for you guys to think about, mull over, chew on in your cranium, give you guys a new perspective, or maybe just, enhance a perspective you already had. That's what I truly try to do with all of my content, whether it's the first time you've watched me or you guys have been watching me forever and a day. I hope everyone has something in their life that makes them happy, makes them smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.